What's up, guys? We are here at PAX East, and it is freezing. Well, we are here with Celestrata, the community manager for Archeage.
Hey guys, what's up? Good to see everyone. Good to see you, by the way, again.
Yeah, it's great to see you.
It's not San Antonio right now.
Oh man, we saw each other in San Antonio first time. Amazing time there. Way warmer. This is just freezing. Like jackets, beanies. I like San Antonio better, guys.
What is it outside right now? It says -1 thanks to wind chill right now.
Yeah, it's like 10 degrees normal, but -1 with the wind chill.
And if we don't leave tomorrow, we're gonna get snowed in probably. So
yeah,
it's good that we leave right now.
Yeah, so we definitely got to get this out there for you guys.
You are leaving tomorrow, right, Jason?
Tuesday, actually. We're supposed to leave on Tuesday. I know, we might not be leaving, so you may not see this for like Wednesday-ish. But yeah, so I'll get this out for you guys. Don't worry. So let's jump into some questions. I know they just did server transfers, and actually we got all the questions. I know you like to see the questions, guys.
People love the papers.
People love the papers. So we've got your notes here. We got your guys' questions. Thank you for all your questions. So server transfers just happened, and like, you guys did an amazing job. Awesome job there. There was like, I don't think there was any complaints on server transfers at all. That happened for 1 credit for a week, and now we're in this process of kind of like, I guess, seeing how the servers have played out. So what can you tell us about like the server population on the legacy servers and how things are going there? Because there's a lot of talk of like merges and dead servers and things like that. What can you talk to us about that?
So let me start off with the whole server transfer stuff first. You know, we were really excited and happy to actually do the 1 credit transfers, especially after like sitting down and having the transfer system out for so long. We felt that it was really appropriate and really good to allow players the opportunity to sort of switch to where they wanted to be, and do so with a small amount of money. And we were really happy that we could do it for 1 credit. We wanted to do it for 0 credits, but there was a limitation in the system where we couldn't set it to 0, unfortunately, so 1 credit it was.
What was 0? You would also get like just probably a ton of crazy, random, weird transfers.
Well, you probably would, but at the same time, the system itself is still restricted, that you can use it once every 30 days, right? So it's not, you could transfer once, but you couldn't like transfer all over a bunch of servers and do anything too crazy, right?
I mean, potentially you would probably get more RMT, gold seller type people trying to play the system, like
yeah, the same thing for 1 though, right?
Yeah.
It's still pretty much the same thing with the credit level. But server-wise, because of that, a lot of people moved. You know, Curios was really successful at how many people that it garnered over time. I think that is now evidenced in the PvP and FEMA being able to take down Thunderwing Titan, the first in North America and Europe.
Congrats to FEMA again.
Yeah, congrats. And Ranzep's been doing very well, at the same time. But there are of course some servers that do have lower populations from both transfers and just overall. Great examples right now would be, I think, Arlo, everyone kind of can realize it, and Jehuda as well on the European server. So looking at that, it is below our thresholds, just to be very point blank about it. And that does require us to begin to consider what do we want to do. So right now,
So about how many are below like the threshold that you guys have?
I mean, Arlo and Jehuda are really prime examples. We're still looking right now, and we're seeing the populations as they continue to trend with the system. So it's still up in the air. It's still
So like 2 for sure.
definitely 2 for sure. Yeah. But with that, it's coming down to what do we think is the best way to move forward. I know everyone says merges, but a merge is one thing, an evolution is another. Transfers are something completely different. So we're sitting down with XL next week during the business meeting, and it's going to be discussed, just to be very frank. I did see a lot of threads recently about the conversations around it. I saw some people really interested in doing merges, which would be server A stays strong, and a smaller population server B moves into it. So that's up for consideration if people like it. But voice your opinions. That's really important to us.
So on that front, talking to XL Games about it, like, what do you guys discuss with XL Games? Just kind of like how to move forward, like what's the best way to go? Just because like you guys are business partners, obviously, and you want to make sure that the new server that you make potentially or whatever happens is good for the longer run.
Right, absolutely.
Okay.
We want to have that conversation with XL. We want to look at the data, we want to look at community opinions, and we want to make a consensus between the 2 groups. It is XL's game after all. They are the developers, and we are the publishers. And there's also sometimes, depending on what plan we put together, there are technical requirements as well. So they need to be brought in, and they may need to do some things on their side in order to make it a smooth, fun experience.
Okay, cool, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that update there.
Of course.
Definitely much appreciated.
Now,
So
of
there
course,
you
if
go.
anything else, happens, or we make any decisions, we're going to tell the community first. You're going to hear it on our websites. So obviously, stay tuned as we continue to look.
For sure. So then that leads me into next. What about Fresh Start? How is Fresh Start servers going? How's the population been?
Yeah.
I mean, incredible boom in the beginning, obviously.
Yeah, really good.
I think it's dying down a little bit.
Yeah.
But obviously, you know more about that. What
Yeah.
can you tell us about population levels, activity levels, how things are going there? What are your feelings with the 2 Fresh Start servers in North America and then the 1 on EU?
Prophecy, yeah. So it's been going really, really well, very obviously. With the queues at launch, player feedback has been really, really positive. And we get criticism from time to time, but we're always looking into that and reading it, making notes. But overall, those populations are really, really healthy and really, really well sustained.
Are they still like well above the basic threshold? Like it was like 600% or whatever.
Oh yeah,
they're still way above.
Way above the threshold. Now, if you take all of Legacy, for example, and still add them up, it's still more than Fresh Start, because Fresh Start's 2 servers versus Legacy's many more servers.
It's probably pretty close, isn't it?
It's definitely Legacy still wins. Curios, man, like Curios and Aransep are still really strong populations. So that in that respect, they did quite well at launch. Now, of course, players are always asking us how they're doing over time. Compared to Morpheus and Rangor last year, these servers are trending much, much better. They're holding on to the populations for a longer amount of time, but progression has changed too. People are progressing slower this time around, thanks to the changes to the marketplace, changes to labor, and changes to the game overall. Drops, included. So we're still really happy with the way things are going, and we're still learning a lot from this release. So good news there, really good news.
Awesome. So I know there was concern about like the RNG boxes coming back, and then also the hauler update, and then the wagon update. Like you dropped that kind of just like suddenly on a Friday, but like, oh, here you go. Here's like there was a little bit of warning beforehand, like eventually they'll come back. But then it was just like one random Friday, but like, oh, here's haulers, here's RNG box, here's upgrade to this. It's like, whoa. And then I think mainly the concern I think a lot of people had was that, like, because they always, Apex is this, Apex is this, Apex is this, and Apex went from like 240, 250 to like 400 that day. It was just like a dramatic, like, oh my God, Apex is way up. Did you see, like, what are your feelings on that? Like, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I mean, I would like a heads up. Maybe a week or 2 or whatever, like they're coming. I also talked potentially about maybe like a calendar of like doing like a monthly calendar outlining like what's roughly coming. I think I like that kind of stuff. But what are your thoughts on how that affected the economy, how that affected the servers, and then also just like how come that happened? Just a random drop on Friday, like kind of no pre like okay we're dropping this next week or we're dropping this in a day or 2. What happened there, essentially?
I mean, that's the kind of our standard rollout for any one of our marketplace items. We always, take an item, it's released on Friday. We very rarely, tease it or do anything upcoming with it. People always say, oh, the live stream's about marketplace items, but really that's at the very end of the stream, and the item's already available on the server, so there's no really heads up that we're giving you for any of these items. I can see why the community really would be more interested in letting them know when something like a hauler is coming, or the changes with the supply crates coming back. But at the same time, those changes also affect the economy of the game. So it's something we always have to sit down and think, do we want to do that? Is that something that we want to do to players overall, like change the economy for a week? Even with Apex increases, that's something we've seen every single time that we've rolled out one of those items, like a hauler upgrade. Apex always spikes, and that's due to increased supply and demand. People want credits because they want the new thing. They'll buy out the Apex very fast. Less supply, means that prices increase. It's almost like
it's a growing trend that every Friday.
I mean, you're a merchant, man. You see that, right? It's almost pretty reliable. So this isn't like a weird out of the blue thing that we've never done before. It's been done this way almost every single time. And then we do that because, one, people are wondering why the hauler upgrade came back. And that's a bread and butter staple of Archeage. It's a slow upgrade. It helps fund the game's development, and it's something that is appropriate for the server at that period of time. it does add some new progression, but doesn't also add a huge increase in power or direct change there.
And then you can also rent the haulers too.
You can also rent the haulers now as well.
Did that have an impact on kind of like, because from what I understood, I thought it was going to be like Merv was saying, like maybe like I'll be out in a couple months or whatever was the last that we heard about it. Maybe, I don't know, a couple weeks after the server launched.
Yeah.
And then nothing really. And then it just like dropped that Friday. And so all we had was like a couple months back. It was like a couple months. And then people were talking about like all haulers. They found out, they discovered that you could rent these cars, rent the haulers.
Yep.
And it was like, did that have any influence on like, okay, now is the time to kind of release them?
Yeah, actually. Because only could people like build their various vehicles, but the rental was a big change. That's new for 3.0. People were getting access to that equipment much faster and much more easily. So it actually did influence the pattern of our progression. At that point, it felt appropriate at that time to then release that to the servers. So it's like stuff like that we're always looking at the way the community plays the game and kind of trying to gauge what's cool for what time. We've said that at the outset, items will come back, and we are very attuned to what's happening on a particular server. So for a lot of those reasons, we made that decision.
So on that token, then items will come back. I'm wondering, when are the Stellar and the Lunar farms coming back? You got any time frame roughly for those guys?
Yeah, I don't really have any timetables off the top of my head. I haven't really heard them on the marketplace schedule, and we have that built out about 2 months. So I haven't heard anything right now, but you can still look for
nothing on the horizon.
Yeah,
roughly.
Yeah,
they could just sneak back in there. Yes,
they will, of course. Come back on a Friday, and they will be announced on that Friday again to minimize impact to markets over time, right? But I wouldn't put it past it for them to eventually make their reappearance.
So I know it came out recently that you were managing like 2 games now. I think Pavilion working over there.
That's not recent. That's been a while.
That was a while ago. Yeah. So, but I mean, people discovered it, I guess, fairly recently.
Discovered because I did a big announcement on my Twitter and everything.
Yeah, well, it was discovered fairly recently, from what I understood.
Yeah.
And there was some concern that you're, splitting your time, especially on the forums. I think there's a lot of vocal people that are like, we want more communication. We want more communication. Celestrata doesn't post that much, et cetera, et cetera. Is there any plans on a new CM or an assistant CM, or how's that going to work out? Is this temporary work in 2 games, or just what's going on there?
Yeah, no. So I am working on 2 games. Obviously, I'm also community manager on Pavilion. Archeage by and far takes the most of my time because of its complexities, the requirements of the community, versus Pavilion. Being an ARPG is a lot simpler to do, and the community is actually much more straightforward over there. But at the same time, trying to think of where I really want to go with this, but I would love to have a new assistant. Why wouldn't I? Everyone in the community is like, are you gonna get a new CM? Are you gonna have a European CM? Yes. If you want to keep yelling for me to get an assistant, I would love that. Is it on the horizon? Probably not right now, unless Jason. Do you?
I don't think I can work with World. Sorry to be blunt. I don't think I could work. I mean, if they offer me a great salary, then maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah. Now with communication, we communicate a lot on a daily basis. I don't think people kind of realize it, but I spend about 3 to 4 hours per day answering messages, posting on forums, and visiting all sorts of websites. I visit news sites, I visit our forums, I visit Reddit, I visit Discords, I have Skype messages with some guild leaders. I'm always looking for more guild leaders to talk to. I'm on Twitch channels, on YouTube. All of that adds up. And even still, I post on the forums about an average right now of 8 times per day. And to put this also in perspective, Evan Scapes, he posted a lot on the forums as well, but I've already eclipsed his post count in a year and a half of working here.
Yeah,
and he's worked here much, much longer.
She definitely posted a lot more than Scapes did, and it's funny when people are like, oh, I want Scapes back, because they think he did a better job or whatnot, but if you really look at it, Scapes didn't post that much. I don't know. I think it's just the love of the past type thing, and
I mean, I love Evan too. I was just getting dinner with him last night. He's a good friend of mine, so I see the appeal, right? But yeah, we're always trying to communicate, and we're always trying to be out there. At the same time, community management is like a really multifaceted thing. You want me behind the scenes too, because that's the time I get to sit down and take what the community is saying and give that to the developers, give that to Merv and Amanda, give that to the rest of the teams here at Tryon and in Excel.
So in those meetings that you're doing, you get to give the feedback to them and voice our opinions. That's what you're saying there.
Exactly. I am at those tables, I am the customer's advocate. I am the person who's been saying the things you've been posting. I usually repeat ad verbatim because I print them out. I take them to meetings. I try and show people what our customers and what you, our players, are saying about our game. And we want that voice to be heard.
So I think with that token though, because there's so many different opinions on archeage and everyone has a different play style, and it's like, how can you really advocate all these different things? So you go into a meeting and say the meeting is about like blockades, for example.
Right.
So we haven't talked about blockades for a while, but just that's a hot topic. There's pros and cons of both. So like, how do you approach that? You got all these people, all this forum post. Like, do you just go through and list the pros, the cons? Like, how do you approach the blockade and say like, this is what the community is saying? Like, what's your approach going in there?
It depends. There's going to be a lot of questions right in there. So trying to engage what the community wants. Obviously, as you pointed out, a lot of people play very differently, and they have different opinions. Like, some people get super hype, as we always talk about for like the Pawson Festival, but other people like don't want to participate in that stuff at all. Other people get really hyped for arenas. They want bruiser badges changes. You know, they want changes to the meta so they can play their 1v1s a bit differently and not get killed by another Dark Rider again. Some people really love mass PvP. They want changes and class changes over there. Looking at all of that, it depends mostly on the community needs at the time, things that haven't changed recently, and also development schedules too. Because different changes can have different impacts on the development schedule. And if the team has time for something that might be faster, they could put that into a patch, or something bigger changes might have to wait for a moment in time when we can do those larger changes and devote that level of love to it. So all of those things have to be taken into account when any feedback is being presented.
So for like blockade, so obviously there's both sides to that.
For like blockade specifically.
Specifically, let's go with that example since that, it's a decent example I come off the top of my head.
Yeah.
You go into the meeting and like, how do you propose, there's the thread obviously, there's that, there's Reddit posts, there's all the other social media posts. How do you bring that to the meeting and show them like, okay, we got these people saying this, these people saying this, like, what exactly goes on there type thing, like, because I know some people are like, oh, Celestrata doesn't like blockades, so that's why we don't have blockades. That's a very common outburst on the social media
something
platforms.
I've heard before. I've also heard apparently we stopped blockades because I got blockaded once and got angry, and that made me want to ban blockades forever. You asked a really good question there, and I can actually talk a lot about that decision. We actually were watching on the forums, and time again, when I first joined the company, one of our largest, most vocal topics was on stopping blockades in the game. And at first it was, okay, you want blockades to stop because it's annoying. But our opinion was, this is still part of the game, this is something we still want to see, it's that sandbox level of play that we want this to have in archeage. But then it started getting to a point where some players were actually fully blocking zones and fully blocking, whole areas of the game away from other players, letting haulers just stay out with all these alt characters. At that point, we started really considering that impact that was having on our greater player base. Is that fun? And we dived into the forums, started pulling up all the threads, pulling up all the feedback, printing it out, and then I usually go through and actually start making a data sheet. How many people are negative? What are the leading reasons of why they are negative? How many people are being positive? What are the leading reasons for them being positive? And I take all that data and present it in a meeting to the greater team. That information is then of course shared across Excel and Tryon, and from there we make a decision. Is that something we want to do? And when it came down from blockades, was we believed the community as a whole wanted that mechanic to change. It wasn't fun for them. And then beyond that, there was no counterplay for it. And some people say, oh, use the unstuck command. Well, unstuck's not made to overcome blockades. Unstuck's made to get you out of a poor situation if you should get stuck into it in the game itself. Like, I got trapped behind rocks. I would like to get my character out. So with that in mind, because there was very little counterplay and it was a disliked mechanic overall, we made the call to change that rule in the game. Now, people are always saying, oh, you just don't want blockades ever back. That's not the case. We would like blockades back in the game, but until the game tech can support such a thing, like clipping in safe zones or different collision dynamics, we just can't proceed forward with that at this time. There needs to be counterplay in the game to any decision that's made.
Very cool. Thank you for that detailed analysis of like what's going on. So one last question there. So you would say that there was more negative posts about blockades than positive?
Absolutely.
Pretty decent margin there?
Easily. Now, since that change has been made, of course, it is now flipped, where people who, now that they don't like that new rule, come to the forums. So that's why a lot of people sometimes see, oh, the community really wants this. You were wrong in the first part. No, it's a different crowd coming to the forums now, and you have to understand that. It's because they're incentivized. Something has changed, and they want that thing changed, so they're going to speak up about it. So again, even that's being weighted against the old positive, sentiment that we had, and it still really hasn't risen to the prior levels of what people were running into before.
And then it also takes a lot of time to get a change like that implemented, especially the blockade was there for, I'd say maybe a year and a half or so. So it wasn't a slow process of like, oh yeah, today blockade, oh no, tomorrow no.
Yeah. Those meetings went on for a couple weeks. That wasn't an overnight decision at all, and that was very well planned, and we wanted to make sure that we were making the right call with that in the game at launch.
Well, also the data you guys had was for about a year.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like overnight, oh, we're seeing blockades a lot here, it was the continuous.
And the data isn't just like people things report, on the forums. It also comes from reports of customer service. It comes from our personal, various experiences seeing it in the game and how it works in the game. That's the more important one, watching it and how people do it, right? We do that a lot with the various systems. We all play. We all talk about that constantly. And having that level of knowledge in the game is very important when you're making those types of decisions.
That's the great thing, because you guys all do play, but you guys all plan to play differently, because pretty much no two archeage players play alike. I mean, each has their own unique play style, and that's kind of what makes the game special. Also, is it's so deep that you can do, thousands of different things, and no two play styles will really be the same. I mean, you can have a completely different experience from someone else. So that's really cool there. Then I know I wanted to ask about customer service, because customer service has come up a lot lately. The queue times are, to me, just outrageous. I remember at 2.0 I had some problems, and customer service couldn't actually even help me. So it was 2 weeks going through customer service, and it's they don't have an answer to my problem, and I couldn't play for those 2 weeks. So what I ended up doing was going out to get a new computer, and they're like, oh great, you're playing again. I'm like, yeah, thanks. I know it's hard to customer service and troubleshoot everything, but right now you're seeing about queues are maybe 7-ish days, 5 days.
It's about 7 right now, yeah.
I think that's been pretty constant for the last few months, hasn't it?
Off and on, actually. It definitely jumped up that high when we first launched 3.0 due to all the various things that were encountered during that update. But then it dropped back off for a period of time. It was definitely for a while around 3 to 4 days or so. At some points it was under 2 days. So it did return to normal for a while, but again, our queue times are also impacted by the other games. So as they're launching, Trove is launching as well. Atlas Reactor has had massive changes and updates. So it's only one customer service staff split amongst 6 games. So all queues fluctuate as all of our games function. That being said, the staff is working their butts off trying to get everyone's tickets, taken care of. Those guys are working overtime hours a lot of the time. We're talking really long days, multiple days in a row, skipping days off. So they're doing their best to get to everyone's concerns as fast as possible right now. And we know it's tough then. We absolutely understand. And that's why the team is taking such, precautions to sort of jump in and do everything they can to reduce that wait time.
So, of course, overtime, all that stuff going on. I know a lot of people always ask, hire more people, and we even talked about this last time, at PAX South, and it's that's a very, very common answer. So can you reiterate are you guys hiring at all, or, why not again? Can you just reiterate on that point on hiring more customer service? Because to to me, like, well, I'll just phrase it this way. How do you feel about a 2-day wait on customer service? Like, if you have an issue?
I mean, I would always want my customer service tickets to be taken care of as fast as possible by whatever company I'm dealing with, and as efficiently as possible. With customer service, obviously we're always hiring on and off as we need agents, and we'll make that determination at that time. But when you bring new agents on, it's not going to be a miracle overnight, everything gets better. Those new agents have to be trained, right? Like, how complicated is archeage, Jason?
It's pretty complicated.
Yeah,
yes.
it's not a simple game to learn. And a lot of people always really want, when they're dealing with customer service agent, someone who understands their game, someone who understands the needs that they have. So we want to take that time to put those people through training. And even when they're trained, that's going to take some time up. And after they come out trained, they're not going to be as fast as an agent who's been with us for longer. So hiring isn't always going to turn things around, quick like a button. It's going to take some time to actually settle in and have an effect on your wait times.
Awesome. So do you think you guys will be more prepared customer service-wise for the next launch, like 3.5?
I mean, we're always trying to prepare. We're always looking into a patch to anticipate everything that could possibly happen or anything that we may need to do on the customer service side. That's what we have a few meetings before an update comes out. And we'll talk about, are there any big concerning bugs people might run into? Are there any weird situations that someone might need assistance with? And then we identify that and try and schedule people around that as efficiently as possible.
Because obviously you guys do see that any time a patch comes out, there's pretty big spikes in...
not always, not always. January, February updates didn't have, gigantic spikes.
More minor. So, like, obviously the 3.5,
3.0,
2.5,
yeah. The big numbers.
For sure.
Yeah.
Have the bigger spikes.
Those are going to have the larger spikes, and that's when we have a lot more meetings on that, sort of scale, sitting down with CS and saying, what can we do for you, and what can we change to make things better and quicker for customer service agents, and then better for the players at the same time.
Awesome, great. So, what about the compensation? Do you got anything else for us coming out in the near time?
Yeah, we do actually. So we just came off of the week of Double Everything, which was part of the whole compensation pack. But the piece de resistance to the whole thing, and what we've been working with Excel with over time, is a new compensation system where there will actually be a compensation workbench, named not final as of yet, but we're going to be giving out tokens to all the players in order to sort of like do the final amends and let people use this new system to get the rewards they may want. So basically, you take your tokens, you look at what the workbench has on it, and you can put those tokens towards whatever your heart desires. Awesome. Custom compensation.
So that's coming fairly soon? Because I know last time we talked about this was still like a pipe dream. It's still pretty far out, but it's fairly soon.
That is, I can confirm that is actually in progress. We're really excited about it because we wanted to give people more options when offering compensation. We always hear again and again, okay, that item is cool maybe for someone else, or sometimes we also hear, I hate all of this, which I can get it. If you don't use it, maybe you don't want any of that stuff. But if you're a really rapid fire player who needs Warriors medals or extra days of patron, you may really like that. I don't think the patrons are going to be changing if we continue to have things like downtime. We're still going to compensate patrons with days, but then we're going to move to this new model where we offer a number of compensation tokens that will change depending on the severity of what happens. So now you have your choice.
That definitely sounds like a great system, like a way better system than what we have had. Will the Zodiac kind of compensation kind of be in there? Will you ever get Zodiac coins?
We might drop some Zodiac stuff in there too, The Zodiac Festival's in an interesting position.
Coming up again, I think, right?
It's going to be coming up again soon, so we're probably going to drop some Zodiac stuff at the same time as the Zodiac Festival comes out. We do have to keep in mind that Fresh Start has never had the Zodiac Festival, so we have to gauge how we want to hand that stuff out, if we want to give Fresh Start that. But yeah, Zodiac compensation, I know. It's in the stars. It's been a long
So I
time.
know I've been yelled at because soon is a vague term.
Yeah.
So will you give us, is it closer than 2 months away, this compensation thing, roughly?
It's going to be around in that range, yeah. It's going to be
that range, okay.
Pretty quick.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for the timeline there.
Yeah.
And then I'm a big fan of the regrade events.
Yeah.
Do you have any news about a regrade event? Anything in the stars, maybe?
Quietness. regrade events, the one thing we have to always think about with regrade events, as I said before, they impact the market severely the minute
That's
they're
why I like them.
So with all the prior regrade events, you may have noticed that we don't announce them until the day of. And that will be the same case for the future. So I cannot confirm nor deny the existence of any regrade events. So you'll see, have to see.
Twinkle in the eye. I think
You'll
it's perfect.
have to see.
Well, so I did some research for you guys, and it's been about every 4 or 5 months that they've done a regrade event, so we're right around that mark. So historically, if we go that range, it should be coming soon. That's just historically based on facts. You can Google this stuff and find out.
And don't forget, Jason, that will also impact Fresh Start servers.
Yes, so that's what I'm looking forward to. A regrade event on Fresh Start servers. That's going to be amazing, guys. At least I think so. Let's go into like naval arenas, because naval arenas were missing from the 3.0 update, and we've gotten, I think, 3.0B-ish. We got the Thunder Week Titan, but we still don't have naval arenas. Is there anything you can say? Last time we got no information on naval arenas. What's going on with naval arenas, pretty much?
We're not really talking too much going forward with any new features like naval arenas. Obviously, everyone has heard about them, but we're not really looking and talking too much about the future development beyond like this month's update in March and 3.5. Like it's kind of like a quietness right now as we get everything together. As I said, we are meeting with XL this coming week, so there's a bunch of business meetings and discussions that will be around development. So you're gonna have to wait a bit longer for news on that.
Okay, so definitely not in March. So I don't even know what's going into March. Can you tell us what's coming up? Is March at all?
March is going to be another one of our smaller updates. There'll be some bug fixes, some new limited time events. We're going to be talking about that probably in this coming week, next week. So nothing right now at PAX. We're going to see it coming out on our websites very, very soon.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's see. The Thunder Week Titan obviously got killed by FEMA, as we talked about earlier.
Congratulations.
Congratulations once again. Are we still looking at nerfing that in our region, or is that something that's going to kind of stay since it was killed?
Yeah. Right now we're going to roll with the unnerfed version for now. Obviously there is a changed version in the Korean update and in the other regions that is being used. So we will get that version eventually. But because our region has demonstrated that they can take down the Thunderwing, it's going to stay like it is for a while.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Any news about the Leviathan changes coming up at all? Since we're on kind of like this world boss topics.
No, it's a really good question. It's been tossed about a little bit, obviously with the chip component changes that affected how Leviathan was working. That's still really kind of a discussion as to how Leviathan would change, so I don't really have anything more to like dive into because it's still being like tossed around and sort of figured out. Yeah.
Let's take a break.